10 cycles. That's how long Dr. Veshtarii had been stuck in her chair, hovering through halls, lecturing from a seated perch, hailed as a genius but forever grounded. On Scarthoan, that was normal. Their bodies weren't made for standing. Evolution had traded vertical ambition for intellectual expansion. Bones like glass, joints like gelatin, and spines with all the rigidity of boiled noodles. Still, Vesh had always wondered, what did it feel like to rise? They called her obsessed. Her peers mocked her. Primitive fantasies. Standing? That was for low-grav savages. Upright posture was practically eroticized in ancient Scarthoan literature, and strictly censored. But something inside her refused to fold. Maybe it was the archived footage of humans, striding across Earth, muscles taut, spines proud. Or maybe it was just boredom. 10 years in a chair leaves a lot of time for curious searches. Then the humans arrived. Part of some galactic medical exchange eager to lend their limbs to the wider universe. And in walked the Earth's specialist for biomechanical rehab, Dr. James Cole. He was tall, upright, smirking, full of slang and swagger. And everything about him screamed, "I fix broken things thoroughly." When he introduced himself, his translator sputtered twice before landing on, "Hello, I'm the joint tightening specialist. I help you stand hard and long." 3 assistants short-circuited in embarrassment. Veshtarii only blinked once. "I want the treatment," she said, firmly. Her voice echoed with 10 years of inertia. "I want to stand." James gave her a slow smile. "We'll get you nice and vertical, Doc. But I'm gonna need access to all your lower systems." The translator rendered it as, "Initiating posterior diagnostics. Prepare for deep adjustment." A custodian fainted in the hallway. The procedure was controversial. The therapy, called the human stand, involved neurofusion, muscular reprogramming, and a compact exoharness that wrapped tightly around the pelvic girdle. Vesh was warned there would be strain, invasive calibration, and extended thrust patterns to override the body's natural resistance. She nodded. "Sounds intense." James winked. "That's kind of my thing." Day 1, he lowered her onto the therapy table. The harness clamped snugly across her hips, spine, and thighs. Cold gel applied. Electrodes lit. A gentle hum filled the room. "Ready to feel the pressure?" James asked. "I've been under pressure for years," she replied. "Let's see if yours is different." First thrust. Muscles spasmed. Her back arched slightly. The neural sync clicked once, twice, then vibrated into harmony. Her eyes widened. "There's movement," she whispered. "Tension. Deep." James muttered something about lumbar ignition while adjusting her posture. The translator offered, "Initiating deep spinal engagement. Penetration successful." The assistants took a break. All of them. By the end of the session, her legs twitched. Not much, but more than ever. James praised her progress, called it sexy science. Then added, "Tomorrow, we go deeper." Each day brought new calibrations, and new misunderstandings. When James told her to loosen her glutes, or engage her posterior chain, alien recorders nearby filed official scandal reports. Vesh couldn't care less. She was starting to feel warmth, heat she hadn't experienced in years. Her hips burned. Her core shook. But damn it, she was awakening. After one intense session, she looked James dead in the eye. "I think I can take more." He nodded. "Then let's open you up. Let those tight muscles breathe." The translator gasped. "Human requests widening of subject's lower aperture." That night, alien tabloids ran the headline. "Esteemed doctor receives human thrust therapy, shows signs of liking it." Meanwhile, Veshtarii documented her progress, clinically. Initial pelvic tension, extreme. Post-human interaction, considerably relaxed. Neural response, heightened. Emotional status, undefined. But intrigued. One entry read simply, I twitched today. Voluntarily. She couldn't deny it. James' crude humor, bizarre metaphors, and ridiculous Earth analogies worked. Somehow, his confidence made her believe it was possible to rise, to reclaim what her people gave up millennia ago. By the end of week 1, she stood with support. Shaky. Tentative. Her legs wobbled like overcooked noodles. But she stood. James said, "That's it. You're halfway up, Doc. Next week, we lose the safety straps." She raised an eyebridge. "Are you always this forward with patients?" "Only the ones that moan when I tweak their stabilizers." The translator struggled. "Human reports pleasure response from subject during manual adjustment." They both laughed, finally, genuinely. Not as doctor and patient. Not even as human and alien. Just two stubborn lifeforms, defying gravity together. She went to sleep that night feeling something strange in her chest. Not pain. Not tension. Something lighter. Hope, maybe. It had been 10 years since she moved under her own power. And all it took was a strange upright species, a cocky earth man with tool-laced fingers, and just the right kind of pressure. Day 12 of the therapy, and the word, tight, had taken on far too many meanings for Veshteriai's comfort. Especially when Dr. James Cole kept saying things like, "Let's loosen you up," while adjusting the brace along her thighs. The exoharness clamped perfectly against her lower spine, and the neuropulses were sinking smoother now. Still, the translator system kept glitching in the worst ways. Today's gem? Human intends to initiate rear propulsion module via deep rhythmic force. That one made the lab intern drop an entire tray of nutrient gel. James didn't help. He kept narrating every move like a sports commentator on a late-night adult channel. "Gonna push some extra charge through your hips now. If it starts tingling, that's normal. If it throbs, you're doing great." Vesh gritted her teeth and replied, "I was bred for mental stimulation. This is just advanced science." Her tone was flat, but her cheeks carried a hue dangerously close to violet. Then came the balance exercise. James asked her to flex her glutes and thrust forward with confidence. Her first attempt nearly threw her off the platform, arms flailing, center of gravity lost. He caught her, again, with both hands on her lower supports. "You've got a strong base," he murmured. "But your control needs coaxing." She wasn't sure if he meant her hips or her attitude. Either way, the translators had a field day. Human recommends increased rhythmic engagement to optimize lower core performance. By now, the translation unit had become self-aware and embarrassed. It auto-muted itself for 5 full seconds after that line. Word of the sessions had leaked. Not the clinical results, no, just the overheard phrases and questionable moans. One staffer claimed she heard Vesh scream, "More voltage!" and assumed it was a mating call. Another swore he saw James adjusting her brace and whispering, "You'll feel it deep in your bones, just hold still." Suddenly, every alien media outlet wanted a front-row seat to what they were calling the rise of the seated queen. Meanwhile, James remained blissfully, or intentionally, oblivious. "These exomuscle actuators are designed to work best under sustained pressure," he told her during calibration. "So if I keep pressing from behind, it's all part of the protocol." Vesh only raised a brow and replied, "Then by all means, doctor. Apply pressure." She was moving now, in small ways. Hips shifting, thighs tightening, the occasional controlled lift from her seat. Her muscles ached, her bones creaked, but it was worth it. For the first time in her adult life, she could feel the ground beneath her feet, and not through sensors, but directly. Viscerally. Intimately. She practiced walking in slow, guided steps. James always a breath away behind her, hands hovering near her waist to catch any slip. 1 step. Then 2. Her balance held. Her spine, reinforced with earth tech and human stubbornness, held firm. Then came the lunge drill. "You're going to bend forward," James explained. "Not too much. Just enough to feel it stretch. Keep your posture proud. I'll support your rear axis." The translator tried its best. Human will dominate posterior thrusting angle with precision handling. A medic dropped their clipboard. By now, the galactic tablets had rebranded her therapy as a revolutionary technique combining pleasure posture with primal earth physics. A broadcast played a slowed-down clip of Vesh shuddering during a torque realignment, looped with suggestive music. Someone titled it Stand and Deliver. She threatened to sue, until she watched it, and nearly snorted drink fluid out her nose. James brought her a snack during break. Protein bar. Human-made. She tried it and gagged. It tastes like compressed regret. He shrugged. It builds muscle, not flavor. She muttered, So do I, and went back to her stretches. Each session brought new milestones. A proper squat. A hip roll. Controlled pelvic tilts that engaged her lower stabilizers. Her entire species thought standing was unnatural, indecent. She now understood why. Standing was exposing. Not physically, emotionally. You were up there. Vulnerable. Nothing to lean on but your own damn willpower. And the hands of a determined earthling, apparently. Vesh had a thought. If standing was forbidden, then walking must be absolute heresy. She liked the idea. James reviewed her latest data with a whistle. You're at 80% load tolerance. You'll be off the supports by next week if you keep this up. She asked. What happens when I reach 100? He grinned. Then you get to do it all by yourself. But hey, I'm always happy to be behind you. For balance, of course. The translator delivered. Human offers rear engagement indefinitely. It didn't even try to hide the smirk in its voice. Still, he wasn't wrong. Balance was everything. And as strange as his methods were, as bizarre as his humor sounded in her ears, it was working. She was rising. Slowly. Deliberately. Proudly. She updated her private journal. I have taken 7 steps without artificial suspension. I have engaged core systems previously believed dormant. My hips are stable. My back is firm. I suspect I may even be enjoying this. She paused. Then added, He called me a badass today. I think that means I'm doing well. 10 years ago, she had accepted her fate in that chair. A body built to sit. A mind resigned to limits. Now, she couldn't stop imagining what else was possible. Especially if the doctor kept insisting on gripping her from behind until everything aligned perfectly. Strangest part was, he meant it. Every word. She stood. No supports, no harness clamps, no guiding grips, just her and gravity. For a brief, trembling moment, Dr. Veshtarii defied every limitation her species had normalized. Her knees wobbled. Her spine protested. But she didn't fall. The exoharness was off. James had insisted. Training wheels are for children, he said, tightening the neural sync for the last time. It's time you walk tall. Or at least sway confidently. Her first unaided step was more of a bold tilt forward, saved only by instinct and clenched thighs. But she didn't collapse. Instead, she took another. Then another. And another. Her internal sensors lit up with unfamiliar signals. Weight shifting. Pressure balancing. Muscles straining in ways they never had, never could. She turned her head to James. This feels illegal. He grinned. It is, depending on which planet you're on. The translator helpfully added. Subject experiences high stimulation, upright euphoria under human influence. That line would make the evening headlines across 3 sectors. Veshtarii knew the rumors were out of control. The footage from last session, her mid-lift groan while James braced her hips, had been edited, slowed down, and set to atmospheric mating music. Alien influencers called it the climax of interspecies biomechanics. Someone even uploaded a remix titled Spinal Tap, Human Edition. Meanwhile, the Scarthulan Scientific Council issued warnings. They called the therapy morally destabilizing, dangerously eroticized, and possibly contagious. An entire panel debated whether upright posture was a gateway behavior. One elder claimed that if more Scarthlin stood, it would lead to dancing. Then kissing. Then, gasp, cross-species physicality. She ignored them. Each step she took silenced a different voice from her past. Teachers who said she'd break herself. Colleagues who mocked her. Earth obsession. Her own doubts that whispered maybe she was meant to stay low, grounded, safe. Now, every muscle was sore. Her thighs burned. Her glutes screamed. But there was satisfaction in the strain. The effort meant she was no longer being carried, she was moving herself. Imperfectly. Proudly. James observed her gait with a nod. You're swaying more than a drunk giraffe, but you're standing. That's what counts. I don't know what a giraffe is, she panted, but I assume it's majestic. He handed her a hydration capsule. With a dangerously long neck and powerful hips. Basically, you're a spirit animal. She allowed herself a laugh, followed by a pained grunt. Even laughter made her spine tingle now. Everything aches. Welcome to humanity. Pain means you did something worth remembering. The translator piped up. Human confirms pain as pleasurable. Recommends repetition. She stared at James. Your translator needs therapy. He shrugged. Too much exposure to my phrasing. It's been corrupted beyond saving. Vesh received dozens of messages daily now. Some asking for medical reports. Others asking what James's method entailed exactly. One offered credits for a private session. She didn't reply, but she did consider raising her rates. She knew what they thought. That she'd given in. That the humans seduced her into this upright rebellion. They didn't understand. James hadn't seduced her, he challenged her. Teased her. Dared her to do the impossible with a crooked smile and an offhand comment like, let's see if you can handle my routine. Turned out she could. During cooldown, she asked him something unexpected. Do humans ever get tired of standing? He looked thoughtful. Sometimes. But we never stop. Even if it hurts. Even if we fall. Standing means we haven't quit yet. She nodded slowly. Then I don't plan to quit either. He gave her a small smile. That's the spirit. And hey, the way you've been thrusting into those lunges lately? Proud of you. The translator declared. Human impressed by subject's pelvic aggression. She groaned. Remind me to uninstall that program. Council hearings were approaching. There was pressure to halt her therapy. They claimed it sent the wrong message, too human, too defiant, too provocative. They wanted her back in the chair, restrained, respectable. But Vesh wasn't going back. She tasted something too powerful to deny. Autonomy. Balance. Strength. And yes, pleasure. Not just physical. The pleasure of rising. Of rejecting expectations with every awkward, glorious step. She had bruises on her hips. Strain along her back. And a growing smirk every time someone gasped when she stood up in public. It was scandalous. Unseemly. Revolutionary. One day, during a walking drill, she stumbled. Hard. Almost fell. James caught her by the waist and lifted. She landed against him, flush. Breathing heavy. Wobbling. You good? He asked, concerned. I'm upright, she said breathlessly. And upright is good. Their eyes locked for a moment too long. No words followed. Finally, she broke the silence. You're still behind me. Professionally, he clarified. Always professionally, the translator said. Human remains in optimal rear engagement for maximum support. They both burst out laughing. There was no going back now. Not for her. Not for her people. Let them whisper. Let them mock. She was done sitting down. The council chamber was silent the moment she entered. Not floated. Not hovered. Walked. Upright. Unsupported. And absolutely unapologetic. Every step echoed through the marble hall like a declaration of war. Dr. Veshtarii stood before the Galactic Medical Tribunal, spine straight, chin high, muscles tense with strain, but holding. She didn't just look taller. She looked dangerous. Gasps rippled through the audience. Someone whispered, "She's erect," like it was a slur. One official covered the eyes of a youth delegate. The head adjudicator leaned forward, tentacles twitching with disbelief. "Dr. Veshtarii," he said slowly, "this is highly inappropriate." She responded evenly. "Is it inappropriate to move under my own power? Or is it simply inconvenient to your image of my kind?" Another gasp. Someone dropped their stylus. "You were warned," the councilman continued, "about the implications. The reactions. Your decision to continue therapy, publicly, has stirred unrest." She didn't flinch. "Because I stood?" "No. Because of how you stood. With that human behind you. Guiding your hips. Whispering those phrases." She held back a smirk. "He said, engage your posterior chain? That's medical terminology. It translated as brace for deep entry. I don't program the translators. We have footage of you moaning during stabilization. I had a cramp. It passed." Council members murmured. One pulled up a viral clip, projecting it midair. A slowed-down shot of Vesh mid-lunge, James adjusting her stance, their bodies almost aligned. The overlay read, "First Contact, Upright Edition." She watched it without blinking. "That's called therapy. I have the data logs." Another member chimed in. "Your walking sessions have sparked civil disturbances. Standing protests. Mating confusion. There was an incident at a children's hover park. I wasn't there. No, but a group of younglings tried to mimic your posture. One dislocated a knee. 2 began pelvic thrusts. The parents are concerned." She folded her arms. "So your issue isn't with me standing. It's that others want to try it too." They didn't respond. She stepped forward. "You fear change. But change has already begun. I'm proof that it works. That centuries of limitations weren't inevitable. That maybe, just maybe, the humans were right to challenge us." A long silence. Then James stepped in from the back, arms crossed. "For the record, I didn't seduce her into walking. She begged me to push harder." The translator added, "Human clarifies, subject demanded deeper thrust applications." 3 aides fainted. Vesh didn't laugh. She stared down the council. "Ban me if you want. Denounce the therapy. But I will not sit down again. Not for your comfort. Not for your image. And certainly not because some Earth engineer taught me how to use my glutes." Chaos erupted. Protests. Outrage. But somewhere in the gallery, applause broke out. Then more. Then a full standing ovation, awkward, wobbly, but genuine. Scarthoan citizens mimicking her stance. Shaky at first. Imperfect. But trying. She turned to James. "I think I've started something." He smirked. "A movement. Literally. You proud of your method?" "I usually am. But this time, it's not about me. You did the work. I just got you to unlock the right positions." The translator, exhausted, offered no comment. Later that night, alone in her quarters, she stood in front of a mirror. No brace. No help. Her body still ached. Every muscle burned. But she smiled. She'd risen? Not just against gravity. Against tradition. Against limitation. And somehow, against galactic scandal. Her journal entry that night was brief. "I walked today. In front of the world. And no one could stop me." A message pinged from James. "Next up, endurance training. Ever tried downward dog?" She rolled her eyes. "Only if you spot me properly." His reply, "Always behind you, Doc. For safety." She laughed until her abs hurt. Tomorrow, she'd walk again. Maybe even jog. Maybe not just on her planet, but on Earth. Or beyond. But tonight she'd rest. Upright. Balanced. And smiling. Because after a decade of stillness, she had finally moved. And nothing in the galaxy would make her sit back down.